systems are a go.
Confirming all systems are a go. Launching the podcast.
3, 2, 1.
This is Hello from Mars. Hey, welcome to a brand new episode of Hello from Mars. If you are watching on YouTube, you can tell I'm back in the Zoom nook because I've got a special guest coming up here in just a few minutes, my friend Beth. I will explain more on that in just a few, but I wanted to give you the update right up front in this episode when it comes to COVID shot number 2. Oh my goodness. There was a point last week where I was ready to tap out. I was like, you know what? I can't go on with life. It just feels awful. And I would like somebody to go ahead and, fulfill the rest of it for me. It's crazy because, you hear so many different things. So I want to give you guys the idea of like what the extreme at least feels like, because I feel like we keep hearing, oh, well, with the second shot, you get symptoms. Well, that's great. Yeah, you can go ahead and get symptoms, but like how bad? Because I think I got them pretty bad. I will tell you, last Tuesday, I was walking around like the oldest human alive because I was in so much pain. The body aches were incredibly intense. And I had the dull headache and I had the fatigue and I had a little bit of the sniffles and like sore throat. And like I had everything that you could possibly get with this shot, I think. And it lasted about like 36 to 48 hours. I had some symptoms like come back a little bit on Thursday, but by then, like it wasn't as awful. So I just want to give you that update and that warning, just so you know, so you have that mental clarity going in, because we have no idea what to expect, right? Like this is all new. And for me, my mom had no reaction. My Nana had no reaction. Dad had mild reaction. So I'm like, maybe it's genetic. Nope, not genetic. I have heard that younger women with good immune systems are getting hit the hardest with side effects. So yay me, I don't know. It is reassuring though for me that I did not have COVID this entire time, because I would have remembered that like 100%, and I like that we're taking steps in the right direction now, so that feels good too. So if you are somebody who is, getting ready to have your shots, have had your shots, I applaud you. Keep doing the good things, keep getting yourself vaccinated, because that is just going to help us keep moving forward and get back to some sense of normalcy. I can't wait to go to concerts and restaurants and all the things comfortably again. That'll be great. So let's go ahead, jump into Tops and Pop this week, shall we?
Tops in Pop.
There's a couple things that I want to hit real quick. One is this J-Lo A-Rod relationship. Okay, this is not one where I'm super shocked that it came to an end. I know that we only hear what we hear and we can't believe everything in the media, but this just didn't seem like it was going to be going in the right direction, right? There are certain Hollywood relationships where it feels like, the world is crumbling, like when Britney and Justin ended, when Brad and Jennifer ended, even I would say even when J-Lo and Ben Affleck called it quits. I feel like that it was devastating. But this one, whatever, water under the bridge, just keep going. J-Lo's got like 9 engagement rings. She'll get a 10th, it's fine. And then I want to talk about Colton Underwood. If you're somebody who's watched The Bachelor, I am not that person. I don't like the whole lining up and letting a guy go eeny, meeny, miny, mo, and that's not how I ever want to be in a relationship. So to each their own. But this did not work out, it seems like, because, well, he's gay. I mean, shocking to a lot of people, but also, good for him to, finally be out with his genuine self. And, that's the thing is, I mean, now maybe he can do Bachelor Gay Edition. I don't, do they have that? I don't pay attention to much reality TV, so I don't know. But I will say this, a lot of crap came out about him in the last week because there was the whole like tracking his ex and like putting something on her car and whatever. I just want to point out again, we only get certain things in the media, right? So we don't know the full story. I'm just wondering, did she know? She probably knew, right, that he was gay. Is there a potential where she was getting ready to leak this story to try to make some money off of his situation? This is his story to tell. That's what I'm saying. I could totally understand that panic, because when you're gay, you got to come out in your own way. It's got to happen on your timeline, not somebody else's, because they want to make a dollar bill. You know what I'm saying? So that's just my 2 cents, but whatever. Also, can we talk quickly about this Britney Instagram video? where she is actually answering some of our real questions, which is kind of like, what is happening? But also the way it's edited is very uncomfortable. It's very choppy. It's very staged like. And she does say that she's okay. I'll let her actually say this.
Next question is, am I okay? Yes, I'm totally fine. I'm extremely happy. I have a beautiful home, beautiful children. I'm taking a break right now because I'm enjoying myself.
But do I believe it? Not so much. It does, again, it feels very staged. So I don't know. I like this whole Free Britney thing. It just keeps getting stranger and stranger by the day. And to end on a positive note, if you have not watched the Demi Lovato Tiny Desk through NPR yet on YouTube, please go do that. Do yourself that solid. Go and watch her kill those songs in her backyard with just her and a piano player. It is so good. That being said, I've got my friend Beth, who's going to be joining us. She is somebody who has been working in the music industry for a very long time. She decided to retire and wanted to go ahead and take this new path. And then, well, I mean, you know what happened in the last year and a half. It's been a crazy whirlwind. So let's go ahead and hear her story now. The last time I physically saw you, we were both in that transition period. So like I had just lost my job at the end of October. It was like October of 2019. You retired from the music industry at like what, 30? Like, shut up. We met for lunch in Somerville, and like we were both talking, like we were excited about what was going to be coming. Like we didn't know what our next things were going to be, and we had a lot of excitement and nerves about it, but we were excited. That was the bigger feeling. And then everything else happened. So like what?
Shit hit the fan.
That is to put it mildly. Yeah. So I mean, how have you been? Like, I know that we've talked, whenever we do talk, it's like, we better plan a good hour and a half. Cause like, we always have so much to talk about.
Yeah.
But like, what's been going on? Like, I mean, for you, like, fill me in.
Well, we have a new phrase in our house, and it's how are you? And it's like, I'm pandemic good, right? So it's like, which means we're fine, right? Like status quo, everything's fine. I'm pandemic good, 2 thumbs up. We're good to go. But yeah, I mean, I left my job at the very, very end of like 2018. So like 2019 was sort of like the year off. I did some educational classes. I'm a member of the Boston Veg Food Fest committee. So I did all that stuff.
Also, I should mention jujitsu, like nobody's business. Like she's a queen. I would not want to, meet Beth in a dark alley, though. I mean, I would, because I know she's not going to flip me. But anybody else, watch out.
Well, that was actually part of that like year off that I have, is I competed in Worlds out in Las Vegas for jujitsu. Yeah. So that was like seriously intense training for months, which I could do because I was in between jobs. Yep. I didn't retire. Let's clarify. Maybe I retired from music business. And I like that you said I was 30. That's really sweet. Thanks, Mark. And then it started, like in the fall, really started like amping up the job search and starting a home renovation.
Oh yeah, that was fun too.
So then come into January of 2020, we demoed our kitchen, demoed our first floor, and then our friend COVID came along, which shut down our whole construction project.
That's right, because you didn't even have like a stove or anything for a minute.
We had like a temporary sink, like an old kitchen cabinet that was demoed, and a little mini fridge. But we kicked everyone out of the house because everything shut down. Yeah. And we didn't want workers coming in the height of what we now know as the first wave. Now Boston's on, I think, wave 4 or 3. I don't even know anymore.
I lost count after 1 because I mean, what year is it? What day is it? I don't even know what's going on half the time. So
no, totally. So yeah. So then COVID hit, and then that obviously put a kink into the job search for us.
Right. I know. For both of us, I mean, so many people, because I mean, obviously we're not the only ones who were in between when this struck. But then not only that, then you throw in everybody that got furloughed or let go because of the pandemic. So, I mean, when that happens, it's just like, now what? Because I remember you and I having these conversations about like potentially starting brand new career paths.
Yes.
And it's like, we couldn't even get a phone call back for an entry-level job because there were so many people that were now in this job market searching who had years and years of experience who felt desperate.
Yes.
And, they're taking these jobs that any other day we would have been going in 3-4 interviews and getting the job easily.
Yep, you nailed it. You absolutely nailed it. That's what it was like, submitting resumes and and if we stayed in our old industry, or I think if I stayed in our old industry, I had more contacts in there, but the industry that I wanted to go into, it was a little bit more difficult.
Yeah. But that's the thing too, is like, even if you had stayed in music, there was the potential for losing the job. There was the potential for furloughs. For me, like if I had been working, it would have probably not even mattered because in a lot of cases, full-time staff was fine. But then you saw like periodically chunks of radio were getting furloughed and laid off throughout the entire pandemic. So it's like, I kind of feel like I would have been in this spot no matter what. And that in itself is like, it's frightening because I've had programmers reach out and want to see if that I'd be interested to do their morning shows and whatever in like different areas. And one of them recently, I explained my situation of like, honestly, at this moment, I don't feel comfortable moving. Like I don't feel, first of all, it's too far regardless. But at the same point, like, you can't feel safe right now in any job really, to move someplace comfortably and not be concerned that it's going to get taken away in a month,
Well, is that just the pandemic feeling for you, or is that just where you are in life right now?
I think that's where I am in life right now, but that's very much a pandemic feeling as well. When it comes to worrying about that job that I'm going to take to be furloughed in a month, like I don't want to move my entire life for something that might not be there again, so it's like, and this guy had said to me, he's like, you know what, I'm struggling finding somebody for my morning show. And I think that's why. I think a lot of people are feeling that right now. And I said to him, like, I don't know how anybody can't feel that way. There's no safety net at all, it feels like. And until we feel more comfortable, and I don't know when that'll be, that's probably going to be a consistent struggle for radio.
Yeah, absolutely.
So for you, tell me about, like, obviously you started getting into the like stuff that interested you more, right? Like the stuff that you are passionate about outside of music.
Right.
And I know that you started a project called From Beats to Beats, which I feel like I need to say BEATS to the food. So like,
music beats to food beats. Yeah.
Because it's like the coolest play on words, but here it is audio. I want to make sure people don't think I'm just stuttering. But and then you've been doing like Veg Fest and everything in Boston. Like, how did you start, getting yourself involved in all that?
So I became vegan probably like 5 or 6 years ago.
Yeah, I remember that. And I was just like, what are you doing? Like, I'll have your burger. It's fine.
I'll the veggie burger, whatever. I always ate well and worked out, but it was actually around the time I started jujitsu, and I was like, what's going to help with like athletic recovery? I'm getting older. And then my father had bypass surgery. My mom had cancer. And it's just sort of like, the more you learn about it and read about it, especially the lifestyle of being plant-based, how it affects the environment, your health, and like, well, the animals, obviously. Yeah. I was just really into it. And people would ask me about it, and that's what I was like really passionate about. Don't get me wrong, like I loved my artists, I loved talking about them, but then somebody was like I had a programmer, actually, who we both know, was like, my cholesterol is up. What should I be doing? And like, that was like where my heart was at that point. So it just got to the point where I was like, I think I'd rather use my talents. I had 18, almost 20 years, because I was in radio before I was in records.
Yeah.
In the music industry, and I was like, I just want to use my talents for this, because this is what seems important for me right now, where I am in life, kind of thing. So
yeah.
So then I just sort of started to get involved, started to educate myself on it, because I'm like, all right, if I'm cutting out all these animal products in my life, I want to make sure when somebody's like, where do you get your protein from? Then I know. And then doing it for my health. So I want to be healthy about it. So I started educating myself on all that stuff and just getting more immersed in it in my community. So I started volunteering with the Boston Veg Food Fest, which is like a 2-day, well, it was a 2-day in-person, like huge festival in downtown Boston, which has obviously been reimagined because of COVID and all that stuff.
Yeah, we'll get back there though. Like, we're starting to see, especially in Boston, like, even though tickets were extremely expensive, I did see last night, like, people in attendance for like the Celtics game. And, so like things are starting to slowly come back. So that will as well. And you can be veg festing it up soon.
We will be.
Anyway.
We will be. We're on our way. We're definitely on our way. So, yeah. So then there were some changes going on within the company. And I was like, you know what? It's a good time right now. Like, I can start to transition my career into this new career that I'm thinking of, or I wasn't exactly sure what I wanted it to be. And I actually thought I was going to go one direction, and I'm actually going in like a little bit of a different direction with it too. So
yeah, good. Yeah. I mean, that's the thing is, like, I feel like we always have this idea of what we want for ourselves, and what our goals may be, and what our dreams might play out, and what we want, what we hope will happen. But obviously, like, if we're comfortable following the path that's presented to us, it still could lead in that direction eventually. It's just like, you've got, like, when things are put in your path, like, it's supposed to happen that way, like, so go and follow it, because it's going to lead to something where you're meant to be. So it's like, just take it and run with it.
That can be hard though, right?
It can be very hard.
Know that. That's
right. I went from pop to country. Okay. It doesn't always just happen easily.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm the girl who was like, I would never, ever do country. Thank God country music started taking like a little bit of a pop turn, so I could feel comfortable in it. Like, thank you, Thomas Rhett. Thank you, Russell Dickerson. Thank you, Florida Georgia Line. Thank you for collaborating with people like Pink and Bieber and Demi Lovato, so I can feel like I'm at home.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, it can be difficult. It can be very challenging at times.
It is. Yeah. Especially when a paycheck's involved, and you're like, all right, where's the next paycheck coming?
Right, exactly. That's where the struggle really is. But so now that you've been doing all this, so where has this path been taking you?
So when I stopped working like full time, I finally had time on my hands to do some volunteer work, which I've always wanted to do. So I started to volunteer, at a local food pantry here I'm in the North Shore of Massachusetts. So I did that for about a year before COVID started, and I loved it. It was awesome. It was super rewarding. I loved connecting with the people. And it just taught me more about food insecurity and health equity and everything that goes along with that. So I found myself looking for like when I was doing my job search, starting to look in that direction as well. So not necessarily just the vegan plant-based things that I thought was the direction I was going to go in, but more of the like, let's just get people fed and help them out and like give them what they need and meet their needs and like make sure everybody's okay, especially in this time of COVID. So so that's where I actually ended up. I just started last week. So I just ended up there full time.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah. See, like, this is the thing is like, you and I, like what we were saying before is just, having all those talks about the struggles of even just getting an interview and getting an email back, even one that says that you don't get the job or like they're looking in a different direction. Like, for a long time, I didn't apply to a ton of things before I got the job that I'm in right now full time, but it felt very discouraging. So, and it's very easy to want to just like, all right, slam the laptop shut. I'm done. Yeah. I'll go live out of a box. I don't care. Like, so, I'm glad that you found something that did fall into exactly really what you were hoping for. I mean, that's, and giving back, like, those who don't know Beth, probably like the sweetest human on earth. So like, yeah, I mean, it makes the most sense. It does. Like, it just, I don't know, like if I'm not going to see you in, backstage at a concert, then that's probably exactly where I would expect you. So
yeah,
makes complete sense.
Here we go. It's funny. I had to do a run at Whole Foods the other day because we do food rescue from big, from the bigger grocery stores.
Yeah.
So my husband, he's like, "How was your day?" I'm like, "Oh, I went backstage at Whole Foods. It was awesome." It's like, it's so cool because I've always loved how things work, how things operated. So especially on tour, I'd be like in the back looking at all the trucks. Like I'm the dork that asks the tour manager, "So how many trucks are on the tour?" Like,
yeah, but I'm that way too. Like, people would be backstage more focused to like find where the artist was. And I'm over there taking pictures of all the guitars lined up, because you don't realize how many of those things they bring with them or any, like, the signs that are everywhere guiding people to where they're supposed to be.
Yes,
hey, reminders that you're in Albany, New York, or you're in Boston, Massachusetts, because they don't know all the time, because they're just on a bus going from one place to the next. So, that kind of stuff is always so interesting to me. Whereas you get a fan back there and they're like, all right, where's Bieber? Like, where is Bieber?
Totally.
And I get that completely. But I guess when you're you and I, like, we've been around those people enough. Like I need to know, I want to know all the ins and outs of how everything works. So
yeah, totally. Yeah.
But speaking of the music stuff, all right, I want to get in because you were a record rep for how long?
18 years.
18 years. And can you explain, because obviously I know what you did, but for those who maybe don't understand what a record rep is, can you give that definition?
Okay, so what I did, I was in the radio promotion department. So the main way that people still to this day, same as it was 18 years ago, hear about new music is on the radio station. So a lot of promotional efforts are put towards getting programmers of radio stations to play the songs. So that was my main job, is getting the Marissas of the world, of Fly, whatever your radio station you're at, to play the singles that we're working. But with that comes along the promotion. So you hear a song on the radio, there's going to be other stuff going on. I want the DJs to talk about it. I want people to stream the song, watch the video. You just want it to be like top of mind. So it's setting up promotions with the radio stations when the band comes to town, bringing them to the radio station for interviews, setting up acoustic sessions, and then like even more creative things that we've done. I've done like tree plantings with Jason Mraz, which is like,
yes, I do remember that. I remember that.
One of the coolest promotions I think I ever did. It was so awesome. So
I think you invited me to go to that, I think, and I couldn't for whatever reason, and I was so mad. Yeah, there's been a number of those times where it's like, the job gets in the way. But yeah, I mean, and that's how I became friends with you, and that's how I become friends with a lot of people. And it's a fun, like I can't tell you. I think Paul Barrett, when I first started at Fly and he was talking to me, and I guess he just could tell the passion that I have for music. He looked at me and he was just like, you should be a record rep, like 100%. And yeah, and I would have absolutely loved it. And, if that ever came around, I wouldn't necessarily say no to it. There was actually a possibility when I lost my job this last time. But that's also a crazy industry to be in. We know how that has fluctuated, just like radio over the last few years, especially. So, it's touch and go. It takes a lot for me to want to think, am I going to change my career path to something just as rocky?
Rocky and tough. Like there's only so many songs a radio station can play an hour. That's it. Sure. There's a capacity. So it's really cutthroat, and you get told no every day.
Yeah.
It's a tough job. But then there's really awesome, rewarding parts of it, and you get to do really cool things and have great experiences as well. So
yeah, and I feel like that I mean, that's how I explain radio to people too. It's like, there's definitely a lot of enjoyment like if I didn't like what I did or do, like I would have never continued with it, because it's like sometimes working 15-hour days, and doing things that you don't necessarily want to do. I didn't always want to go to every show that I had to be at. As people look at that like, oh my God, you get to go to so many concerts. Yeah, but I'm tired. Like and I've already seen Maroon 5 7 times. Like I don't need to see them again. Like, so it's like, there's those moments, but the good outweighs the bad, and that's why you keep going, because there is that passion behind it. So now I want to know, because you're not in the industry anymore, maybe you'll be a little bit more honest.
Smirking.
But has there ever, like, first of all, who was the best artist that you got to work with?
The best?
Yeah, like best, easiest, maybe like most laid back. Like, I mean, who comes to mind when you're like, yeah, I'd work with them every day?
I love my Simple Plan boys.
I'm so glad you're saying that.
I love my Simple Plan boys. I started, but it's also because I started with them.
Yeah.
Like their first album came out right when I first started. So I've known them for 20 years at this point.
Yeah.
And I love them. They're so special. They're so wonderful. They're Canadians, so love. So they will always have a very, very special place in my heart, for sure.
Yeah, that's so much fun.
But then, I mean, your girlfriend Kelly Clarkson, like I was able to work with her for one album cycle, and then I worked on the Hamilton soundtrack as well, and she did a remix. She was on the remix. The mixtape, the Hamilton mixtape, I forget what it was called.
Whatever.
And she, as you know, you've met her many times, and I know you talk about her on the podcast, so we won't believe our love for Kelly Clarkson.
Yes.
She's so awesome.
She's exactly who you see on TV is her. Like, she's never not that person.
And it's real. It's so real with her. Like, it's not like, there are artists definitely I've worked with where there's like, okay, this is the face I'm showing to the crowd. And then when I go back, I'm in my own little world, which that's fine. I get that. It's tough. We all have to put on our face when we, are in the public eye or whatever. But she's just like, girl, so real. And so, but like, she should be a stand-up comedian.
I know, she really should.
So funny, Mars.
But the thing is, like, I don't think she ever plans what she's saying ever. Like, I don't even know that she's thought about it before it just starts coming out of her mouth. Like, that's why she's got a talk show and it's number one, like.
Totally. She was doing something for she was doing an event for programmers actually, like at her house in Nashville, which I hate the fact that you weren't actually a programmer at the time, because
I know.
This was, like,
I know. No, you know what was worse? I was auditioning for, I'm going to call him out too. I was auditioning at TIC in Hartford, like the first time. And Ryan was there while I was auditioning. So he wasn't able to answer my questions because he was too busy hanging out with Kelly Clarkson, as I'm going, okay, I'm just looking for my next damn job, guys. Like, can we, like, it's bad enough you're at Kelly Clarkson's house right now. I should be there. Like,
yeah, so funny. But so she was like doing like an album playback, talking about the songs, and then she starts going on about the Spanx that she was wearing and how they were tight and sucking her in, and how she couldn't wait to take the Spanx off when we were done. Like,
oh God, that's
you're amazing, girl.
Oh my goodness. So on the other side of this, are you willing to give up a name of the hardest to work with person?
No.
Not at all? Not even like a hint?
I mean, I'll tell you. No, I'm not going to tell a name. No, because you can't do that. That's a trust. But there have definitely been times where it's funny because so many of these memories are in Albany. I don't know what it is about your market, but like my funny stories are like an artist got in my car. I picked them up backstage. We were going to one of the radio stations, and he throws his shrooms on my dashboard. And I'm like, what are you doing? He's like, I gotta try out my shrooms. And I'm like, no.
I know who you're talking about too. I don't even have to ask. Like, I know who that is.
Try out your shrooms on my dashboard. And then so that will be the name of my memoir. No, you can't try out your shrooms on my dashboard. But like, what are you doing? And then another one, we were at a venue and he was like, different person. He was like, actually, I'll say this one. This is a rock band called Smile Empty Soul. from years.
Well, I mean, I like that in itself. I think I know where the story's going to lead to.
Yeah.
By
And
the
the
name of
song,
the band.
the big hit was "I Do It for the Drugs." Do it for the drugs. And he was like, "I need Bud Light for my voice." Because it was like a dry venue. They wouldn't allow alcohol. I don't know what it was. Like,
I need Bud Light for my
like,
voice.
I had to sneak Bud Light in him because he needed it for his voice. I was like, oh, honey.
Oh, honey, that's not how it works.
I mean, that's what you do as a record rep. You figure it out. You get it done. If you need Bud Light, I'm gonna get a Bud Light. I don't really care. Like,
yeah,
whatever.
yeah. Has there ever been a promotion that has come to you from a radio station that you were just like, what in the ever loving hell? Like,
yes, but I actually did it. It was
okay.
For your station that you're currently working at. It was during the Big Dig in Boston, which was this big highway project 20 years ago, which took 30 years. And it was
forever, yeah.
$1 bajillion. I was promoting Uncle Cracker. You remember Uncle Cracker?
Yeah, follow
Uncle Cracker. Drift Away was like the big song at the time. And they're like, we want Uncle Cracker to perform at the Big Dig. I was like, what do you mean at the Big Dig? Oh, we're gonna put him on the highway. So I literally had Uncle Cracker performing acoustic on 93.
On I-93 in Boston? Oh my God.
Ask Mulaney about it. Ask Mulaney next time.
I will, I'll have
ask
to.
Mulaney about it because it was
tremendous. Wow.
Uncle Cracker and the Big Dig. And God bless him, he was such a trooper, Mar.
Yeah.
And he did it. And he's like, he was just amazing. He was amazing.
Was he just happy that the highway didn't fall apart?
It's good that it's him because he's just like, go with the flow, whatever. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But
very mellow, yeah.
He's like, Beth, what are you making me do? I was like, we need the airplane. You're going to perform on the highway, buddy.
Dig. I don't know, Big Dig. So funny. That's so funny.
Yeah.
Well, I know exactly who you're talking about with the drying of the shrooms. I'm glad to get that story about Uncle Cracker. And let's end this on, what was the biggest misconception about being a record rep, do you think?
The biggest misconception is probably that it is all like fun and games and these stories that we're talking about.
Yeah.
But it's hard. It's definitely a hard job. Like I said, there's only so many songs a radio station can play an hour. It's very competitive. It's really hard to get like a new artist on these radio stations because they're so highly researched and there's a million different factors that go into making a decision. Rightfully so. Yeah, absolutely. It's a business. Yeah, I don't know. I guess I would say how hard it is in the long hours. And then it is like, it's office work. Like I'm in my office. Like it's a lot of office work and checking spins every day and like
spins. That's a word that normal people don't know, but oh do we. There's like a whole like YouTube series of like record rep with program director, and it's all just like a Surrey robot voice, and it's like, how many spins? Like
we were down 2 spins yesterday.
Yeah.
What happened?
What happened? I don't know. The song fell at the end of the hour. It dropped. I mean, what do you want from me?
What about you? What's your perspective? What's like the worst thing? I mean, you have great relationships with record reps. What's like the worst thing about dealing with record reps?
The ones that I had the good relationships with, I didn't have to worry about. But then there were the ones that were very, I feel like didn't understand their job very well.
Okay.
And I'm not going to name any names, but like at one point, yeah, I'm not going to pull you or anything here, or I am going to pull you. But at one point, like I kept getting bombarded with emails and phone calls about a new Chubby Checker record. And, and Gloria Gaynor. And yeah. I'm like,
you don't get it.
Like I could understand if they had Steven Tyler or Aerosmith had a new record, and like that might be kind of still exciting, and like, we would probably, if it worked, but like Chubby Checker was literally doing another version of The Twist like 60 years later. And I'm like, what do you want me to do with that? Like, like at one point I actually, because the guy had called me for like the 10th time, And I just said to him, he's like, well, did you listen? I go, no, I didn't listen. I don't need to listen to know that doesn't make sense. Like, even if you threw Kanye West on it, I don't want to hear it. Like, which means if I don't want to hear it, my audience doesn't want to hear it. Like, at that point, I was smack dab in the middle of what our demo was. Like, I'm like, nobody wants that. Like, so it finally took me kind of yelling at him. And you know me, I don't yell. I don't get mad at people often. But like, dude, take no for an answer at some point. Work the station that is like allowing you to talk to them. But that's the only, I gotta be honest, that's probably like one of the only situations where I ever felt that way.
You just transfer the calls to Chad and Jackie over at
I wish that were, I could have, like, if I understood how to use my phone better, I probably would have. But listen, there was never ever there was never a caller ID. So it's like, I would answer the phone sometimes, be like, hi, Marissa. And be like you. And I'm like, oh, thank God. I have so much to tell you. So, yeah. But I am so glad that things are moving in the right direction for you, and that, I can finally see your beautiful face after so long, and that we could do this. So thank you for being a part of the podcast.
Thanks for having me, Mar.
So that is my friend Beth. You can get all of the info on what she's got going on and how you can follow her from beats to beats right now on Instagram. You can check out mine at Hello from Mars podcast and follow it from there. That being said, I didn't know if this was actually going to happen a couple weeks ago, so I didn't really talk about it. But now I feel like I should probably mention I'm back on the radio. Yeah, like technology was causing some super issues, so I wasn't really sure it was going to happen, but it has. And I'm like super thrilled. I feel like I've got a giant piece of me back in place, and you can go ahead and listen wherever you are. So my Boston peeps, I am back on Mix 104.1 right there in your town. So you can get me in your car, you can stream it, you can get it on Alexa, you can get it on the Odyssey app. So that is what I'm saying. Like, you don't have to be in Boston to listen. You can listen anywhere. So I'm kind of global. It's kind of awesome. But yeah, on weekends, Saturday and Sunday, 4 to 9 p.m., I will be talking to you on Mix 104.1. A brand new episode of Hello from Mars is coming next week. Thank you guys so much for hanging out and all the support as always. And be good to each other. I'll talk to you next week.
Oh, hey,